Hello, I am Tom Palmer, as you know, probably, and I am the author of various children's books, including the story I've been writing, Loidis Ledes Leeds, which is a story set in the city of Leeds, and this is chapter 5, as you can see, and as you can't see, there you are, and this is the last chapter of the story, and before I go on, I would like to say, excuse me, I would like to say a massive thank you to all the teachers who have been showing this to you in your schools, also and giving it to you to read, and thank you for reading it as well, and also thanks to Leeds Schools Library Service who made this possible, and we had the idea together to do a story about the history of Leeds, and we really hope that you've enjoyed it. Anyway, chapter 5. Jack, Nisha and Mo have solved 3 of the challenges set by the ghosts who have visited them. But Jack is worried, excuse me, because Jack thinks he has messed everything up because he was too scared to look at the ghost that came to him in his dad's shed. The trio have only to solve one more clue to help uncover something amazing about Leeds' history. But will a 4th ghost come? And if it doesn't, does that mean the trio have blown it? Nisha's alarm went off at 6. Wide awake immediately, she frowned. No ghost, nothing. She had really wanted the last ghost to come to her. She wondered which of the boys it would visit. Mo was awoken by his younger brother, falling out of bed. He laughed and got up. 6:15, he wanted to check the kitchen before anyone else was awake. Mo walked carefully across the bedroom floor, nearly walking on his youngest brother's pile of shopkins. Mo eased the door shut and walked downstairs into the kitchen, but there was no ghost in the kitchen. There were no curtains in Jack's dad's shed. He woke when a ray of sunshine sliced through the window. 7:10. He too had wanted the last ghost to come to him because he had wanted it to be the Roman boy who he had not seen. They gathered in the park at 9, as they had agreed to the night before. Neither of you two had a ghost come, Nisha asked. The 2 boys shook their heads. None of us then, she went on. What does that mean? We failed, Jack said mournfully. What? We failed because I didn't look at my ghost and because we didn't stay long enough at his dad's coffin. Rubbish, Mo said. Nisha didn't speak. It's my fault, Jack said. No, it isn't, Mo said. What do we do? Nisha asked. The 3 of them stood in silence, surrounded by the sounds of the city and a plane descending from out of the clouds, heading for Leeds Bradford Airport. We go back to the museum, Mo said after a few moments. We see if the woman is there again. We've done well. 3 ghosts out of 4. We shouldn't give up. The 3 children searched the museum for an hour, but after that hour they gave up. The woman they had met on the school trip was not there. It was over. I'm hungry, said Jack. Have you got any money, Mo asked. A bit, Jack said. Me too, Nisha said. Let's see what we've got. McDonald's was quiet. The one in the Leeds city station, opposite a cafe called Pret. Once they'd been served, the children went to sit down. They found a seat near a mother and a son who had their backs to the rest of the restaurant. The boy was wearing a hoodie, his face concealed. Excuse me. I'm sorry, Jack said. What? Mo and Nisha both said it together. I'm sorry, it was me. I spoiled it. I was too chicken to look at my ghost. I'm stupid. First thing is, it's not your fault, Mo said. Yeah, Nisha agreed. You got the clue, you found the book, then the coffin. Jack just shrugged. The mother and son were standing now, putting coats on, picking bags up, ready to leave. We must sound weird, Mo said, glancing at them. Not really, the woman said as she stopped at their table. Nisha, Joe, Mo and Jack looked up and gasped, speechless. It was her, the woman from the museum, but she was wearing jeans and a t-shirt now, a leather jacket. Jack felt a wave of joy. He'd not blown it. It wasn't his fault. The ghost woman from the museum was here and now and right in front of them. You've done well, the woman smiled. Can you cope with one more puzzle? Yes, the three children spoke as one. They were still in the game. And if you get this one, you will have shown me that you do care about the history of your city, meaning the great historical city about Leeds can be made. Shall I tell you the clue? Yes, the three children cried. The woman smiled. I want you to prove that the Anglo-Saxons settled in Leeds. That's easy, Nisha said. There are some things in the museum that... The woman shook her head. But not by finding an object in a museum or going to a place out of town in another way. But how? Mo asked. The woman smiled again, walking out of McDonald's. You'll find a way, she said. As Mo and Nisha watched the woman's back, Jack looked at her son, the boy, as he came past. Hi, Jack, the boy said. Jack gasped. The boy's voice was unmistakable. Hi, Jack was thunderstruck. Are you okay? I'm fine, the boy said, then pulled his hoodie down to reveal himself. A thin face with a long nose, and the boy put up his hand and high-fived Jack. I'm fine because you found my dad's coffin, the boy said, and I want to thank you. You did a great thing for me. You're welcome, Jack said. The boy glanced at the other ghosts and frowned. I have to go. Goodbye. Goodbye, Jack said, as the boy walked out of McDonald's, quickly fading to nothing. Who was he? Mo asked, staring at the space the boy had vanished into. My ghost, Jack grinned. Now it is your turn. What do you think the children have to do? Can you think of a way they can prove that Leeds was settled by the Anglo-Saxons, but without finding an object in a museum or going out of town? Have a go, and then join the three children in the next part of the story. Now I'll pause now for 5 seconds before going on. They went straight to the central library in town and booked a computer. 10 minutes later they had one. Research. They had to research. They sat at their computer together, pulled up extra chairs, all excited, almost too excited. So close now, close to solving all 4 puzzles. Mo typed in, prove Leeds is Anglo-Saxon. The trio studied the results that came up on Google. The 4th entry looked the most promising. They clicked onto it and Mo read it out. Leeds was probably a major early Anglo-Saxon settlement in West Yorkshire. Bede, in 730, mentions Campodonum and the region known as Loidis. Nisha spoke slowly. So, if Loidis was Leeds, which it was, that proves that Leeds was Anglo-Saxon. This Bede person said it. We've done it. Yes, Jack said. But is that enough? Mo cautioned. Of course it is, Nisha replied. The lady said we had to find proof that wasn't a place or an object, and a book is, and it was in the book, one of the oldest books ever. Leeds was here in Anglo-Saxon times. On a website, Jack said. It's on a website. Nisha sounded irritated. Exactly, so we've done it. But at school, Jack tried to say. We've done it, Nisha insisted. No, Jack said. At school, Miss Terry said, we can't trust the internet, even though it's useful. We should always check in a book. Mo finished Jack's sentence. There was silence, a long silence. Jack and Mo knew that they weren't quite there. There was one more task to perform, but would their friend agree? We might never find out. Right, hang on. Sorry, that was rather unprofessional. Nisha sighed. You're right, she said. I'm sorry. So, we need to find the book by this Bede guy, yeah? Excuse me? Yes? Jack had plucked up the courage to ask a librarian for help, and the librarian was smiling back at him now. They were, they were in the large reference library, 2 floors up in the central library. Big stone steps, mosaics, even stone lions or stone dogs or lion sculptures on the banisters. Do you have a book by someone called Bede, please? The librarian stood up. We do, he said, looking really happy to be asked. It's called Ecclesiastical History or something. Look, just give me 2 minutes. Jack, Mo and Nisha watched as the librarian walked behind some shelves. He came back with a book that looked nothing special, just a heavy-looking hardback with no pictures on the cover. Do you need any help finding what you want in the book? The librarian asked. Is there a bit about Leeds, please? Jack said. The librarian nodded. There is. I've read this. Let's see. He leafed through the pages. Bede was a monk. He wrote this over 1,200 years ago, the librarian said. In the Anglo-Saxon period. Lots of what we know about the history of England's in here. The only evidence. Ah, yes, here it is. Shall I read it to you all? Mo, Jack and Nisha all said yes. This was it. In the Bede book about Leeds. During Anglo-Saxon times, the librarian began. In Camperdownham, there was a royal palace. He built a church which was afterwards burnt down, together with the whole of the buildings, by the heathens who slew King Edwin. In its stead, later kings built a dwelling for themselves in the region known as Loidis. Thanks, Nisha said. You're welcome, the librarian said. Is that all you need? Yes, thanks. The man smiled, but he still had something to say. He was excited now. The big thing, he said, would be if anyone ever found Camperdownham. That would be amazing. It's supposed to be an incredible place. It'd be one of the most famous Roman finds if it was ever revealed to the world. Whichever town it was built in would become one of the most famous cities ever. People would come from all over the world. Some people think it was York or even Sheffield. I like to think it was Leeds, the librarian said, like Bede says. But without proof, no one's sure. The children thanked the librarian again and walked down the stone steps to the square outside the front of the library. Excuse me. That's it then, Nisha said. Mo and Jack nodded. We did it, Jack added. All 3 children looked around at the city of Leeds. The buildings, the cars and vans driving on the hedgerow, the people walking to and fro. Nothing's changed, Mo said. It will, Jack said. It will. They went to Nisha's for their tea. Jack's mum was out again and Mo had permission to stay out. They ate with their dinners on their knees, watching Look North on the BBC, just in case something was on the news. Nothing had happened in Leeds to show they had succeeded with their challenges. No sign of the woman from the museum. They had even gone to look for her again. And because of that, Mo and Nisha were worried that nothing had changed, that they'd failed. But Jack wasn't worried, and Jack was right. Everything was about to change forever, for Leeds and for him. It was just that he didn't know that quite yet. This food is ace, Jack said to Nisha, looking at the plate he'd been given. What is it? Shh! What? Jack looked up from his food to see Mo and Nisha staring at the TV, a banner running across the bottom of the screen. Foundations of Camperdownham, found under Leeds building site. The place the librarian told us about, Jack said, staring. The one mentioned in that Bede book. They watched a huge building site, 2 giant cranes looming overhead, then a group of workmen standing around a huge hole in the ground. The reporter continued. The remains of the royal palace of Camperdownham were found when workmen were digging at the foundations of the new shopping centre at the bottom of the hedgerow. Archaeologists are already convinced that this is the long-lost palace of Camperdownham, a hugely important Roman site. This is the biggest Roman discovery in the UK for centuries. The 3 friends exploded with joy, jumping up and down on the chairs, laughing, cheering, screaming. That's what the lady said, Mo gasped after calming down. That if we solved all the puzzles, Nisha added, something amazing would be found. Jack finished the sentence. They stared hard at the images on the TV. The workmen, the hole, the signs of Roman walls, and something gold being lifted out of the ground. Then the TV camera showed a group of 3 people watching. A man, a lady, standing in hard hats to the left of the crowd, with a boy also in a hard hat. Mo, Jack and Nisha recognised the lady and the boy immediately. It was the pair they had met in McDonald's. No doubt about it. It meant that they had succeeded with their mission, that they had helped uncover a great secret about Leeds by being interested in their city's past. And Mo and Nisha, as Mo and Nisha chattered and laughed, Jack looked more closely at the man next to the two ghosts. The man took his hat off and tipped it forward as if greeting Jack. Jack swallowed. He wanted to speak, tell the others to look, but he couldn't, because he recognised the look on the face of the man with the hard hat. He recognised his eyes, his mouth, his hair, everything. Jack smiled at the man on the TV screen, and the man smiled back. Right, so that is the end of Loidis Ledes Leeds. We really hope you enjoyed it as a story. I certainly enjoyed writing it, and even though I'm from Leeds and I'm quite old now, I found out loads of new stuff about Leeds while I was researching it and going around all the places. Then you can go to places like the church to look at the cross that they found. You can go to the Central Library where there's great stone dogs and lions. There's some amazing things to see in Leeds. Anyway, I've got two more things to tell you before I finish. If you would like a certificate to show that you've read this story, then you can get hold of these by visiting the web page to do with this, which is at the bottom there, tompalmer.co.uk/Leeds-SLS. So those certificates are there, and so please help yourself to them because they're available to download. The other thing I wanted to say to the teachers, if you've got any feedback about the story, Leeds SLS and I would be very grateful to hear it, because if we get feedback to show that this story's gone down well, Leeds SLS could perhaps get another author to do a story like this that could be read in schools, and so it'd be really helpful if you let us know if you read it and how it went. And I think that's everything I've got to say. Yes, it is. So, before I go, thank you very much for following this story. I hope you've enjoyed it, and have a lovely holiday, which I believe is coming up for all the schools in Leeds really soon. All right, I'll see you later, and thank you very much for following the story.